So our plenary speaker this morning is Sean Askay of the Google Earth team. Sean has a background in biology and ethnobotany and first started using Google Earth in 2005 while in graduate school. He joined the Google Earth outreach team 10 years ago, working to help public benefit groups using Google's mapping technology. He's got a keen interest in geospatial storytelling and visualization, and is currently engineering manager for Google Earth. Please join me in welcoming Sean.
Thanks. I think that's the third time ever someone's done an intro for me, so I guess I enjoyed it. I always forget to introduce myself anyway. So again, hi, I'm Sean. I'm going to try to do a lot of demos today. I'm not a slide person. So bear with me if things explode on me. I'm going to start with a couple stories. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my origin story and how I got here to Google. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the new version of Google Earth and how I hope to see all of you using Earth in the future. But before diving in, how many people here have used Google Earth before? How many people have used it for work? Nice. How many people have used KML before? Made KML? Wow, I'm done. I'm just going to go. Thanks. How many people have used the new Google Earth? Okay, sounds good. So I'll give a demo today, talk a little bit about what we have ready so far in New Earth, and a little bit about where we're going. All right, so I'm going to start, as Nick said, I started playing with Google Earth in 2005 while doing my master's. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of that work, which ended up leading here to Google for me. So we're going to fly down to Southern California, and I'm going to take you to the James Reserve. It's a natural reserve in the University of California Reserve System. And Google Earth came out in 2005. I was a bit of a computer nerd in addition to a budding biologist. And so for our research station, it's one of the most highly instrumented research stations in America. We've got bird boxes that have little cameras in them. So you can see if there's a bird nesting during, not this one, I didn't pick right. Let's turn this on. We got little thumbnails that kind of show vantage points. We're taking a look inside of some of these nest boxes. This snapshot of the data, unfortunately, wasn't the right time of year to be full of bird boxes. But we had a pan, tilt, zoom camera that was mounted on this tower. I built these 3D models that represent all the sensor systems at the reserve. And so we would do kind of time lapse with this pan, tilt, zoom camera for different areas of the research station. Some of these spots have sensor data. Let me just go find one. I think this one's got some. So little graphs. I built this tool so that the researchers coming to the station could access the real-time microclimate sensor network that we had built and download some of the data sets to use it, maybe to look at bird biology, see when mothers would leave the nest in the morning when you hit a certain temperature threshold, things like that. And so I had a lot of fun doing this. This is how I taught myself KML and Google Earth. And ended up coming up to Google to give a tech talk about this project and got conned into working here shortly thereafter. And that was about 10 years ago. Another project that I started in grad school and ended up finishing while here at Google is what I want to show you next. So I am particularly interested in data visualization. This isn't as much of a kind of typical science data set. But back in 2009, I started playing with data sets about war casualties, in particular coalition troop casualties in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the reason I started looking at this data set is that you'd see these headlines, 5,000 troops have died in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? And you'd see statistics like this, right? Big tables, numbers, how many people who had died. You'd see stunning maps like this showing you where people came from. And you would also kind of the other end of the spectrum have these tributes that were created by friends and family, people who are interested in memorializing the fallen troops. And I saw a gap here because I saw data like this and I'm like, this is not telling me a story, right? This is not showing you the impact that this is having around the world for both the US and the other coalition countries. And these numbers just aren't doing it justice, and it's not connecting you to the human story. And one of the themes that I'm going to talk about with New Earth is about storytelling and how I hope to see a lot of you add stories to your data, so it's just not a big graph, it's not a big raster overlay on a map, but actually explaining to your audience what it is that they're seeing and what the importance is of what they're seeing. So what I did is in Google Earth, I created this time animated map. I have a little time slider here, and I'm dragging through time. And this is at the end of the data set back then in March of 2009 of all the people who had died in Iraq and Afghanistan. Not just the US, this is other countries as well. We have some from Canada and from around the world. Just to give you a sense of the full data set, these are people from all the different countries around the world. And the way this time slider works is that for any day in that data set, you can go back and I draw a time animated arc between the place of death and the hometown for that particular person. So we're going to fly in. This is Baghdad. And I didn't have exact data for where people had died, so I created kind of this clock, this chronological spiral out from the center of the cities. And for each one of these icons, you can click and you can learn about the person. So here's Kerry David Scott, died back in 2003 at the age of 21. I can click a button and fly to his hometown. And I both take you there spatially as well as adjust the time slider and take you back to that particular day. I'll show a couple more views of this and then we'll move on. You can time animate the data set, so I'm going to hit rewind back to the beginning of the conflict and just hit play. And you can basically see people coming home from around the world. I also wanted people to be able to look for friends and family. So you can, I'll pause. We've got a name lookup, for example, so you can look people up by name, by age, et cetera, right? And then I link out to various memorial sites that I was able to scrape off the web and find guest books where people had left messages to their loved ones. So the point of this is that I can go to my hometown in Southern California and see people who had died in my hometown. I don't know anyone personally who died in the conflict, right? But now I have an instant connection. And so the point of this is that with interesting data and a backstory, you can create a much more engaging experience and you can draw an audience in and teach them something, help them learn about what it is that you're working on. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the genesis of the new Google Earth. Google Earth, the desktop app that we're playing with here, was kind of coasting a little bit around 2013. There wasn't a lot of effort going into it, not a lot of new features. And so a couple years ago, 2015, myself, my boss, Rebecca Moore, and a few other folks got together and said, you know what, this is an amazing tool for storytelling, for data visualization. We want to revitalize it. And so we've spent the last 2 years rebuilding Google Earth. And one of the things that we're really focusing on is that I mentioned storytelling, not just map data visualization. So we launched this first version. We focused first on basic features that most people in the world would need for exploring the world, for searching. And we're in the process of figuring out those advanced power features from Earth Desktop and new features that we want to bring in into the new Earth to make it a more powerful platform for folks like you, for data visualization. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into new Earth. So every Google demo starts with a search, and they like pizza and the Eiffel Tower around here, which is so boring. So I'm going to keep the French and ditch the rest. Anyone here from Canada? All right, Quebec?
British Columbia.
British Columbia. OK, so I'm going to take you to Quebec. How many? Sorry, I was hoping. We can visit BC later. How many people speak French? What's that?
Come and visit me in Vancouver.
Awesome. I'm down with that. I can't afford to buy a house there, so I'll be crashing with you on your couch. How many people speak French? My pronunciation is terrible, so as I butcher this, feel free to shout out what I should be saying. So we're going to go to Mont-Joli, hopefully, in Quebec. It's a little town, population, I think, 6,000 something, kind of way up in the north. Cute little town. We're not actually here for the town. We're here for this. Has anyone heard of this place before? Maurice La Montagne, something like that. Institute. Yes, you've heard about it. You know, it's one of the, I believe, one of the many fisheries and oceans institutes in Canada. We're going to dive in the street view really quick and show you the front of the building. Dive in. Lovely place. Good people there? You've been, or you've just heard about it? And you're chewing. Sorry, I won't do that to you. So we're not actually here for the building. We're here for the dumpsters behind the building. So these are the trash dumpsters behind the building. Does anyone now know why we're here? No, okay. These dumpsters are magical. They can foretell the future, and I'll explain why. Here's one of those dumpsters. Anyone know what that is? Those are scientific research volumes. So, how many people knew who the last Prime Minister of Canada was? Yes, all right. Stephen Harper. So Stephen Harper decided to close, I believe, 7 of the 11 libraries at these different fisheries and ocean institutes. And they tossed some large percentage of 600,000 undigitized volumes of scientific data going back to the 1880s. I know. Sorry, this is depressing. It got a lot of headlines. Why are we throwing away these libraries? I'll let you figure out maybe why. I don't want to get involved. Politics. But there's a sunny side, which is that this is also a headline. So this incident was one of the things that kind of forewarned what might happen here when it comes to access to data, right, and preserving some of the climate data that we have here in the US. So anyway, dumpsters to politics. Let's get off this train. That's tough. We'll do some lighter-hearted things here in New Earth. So one of the things that we do in New Earth is we've integrated Google's knowledge graph. So if you click on a label, we'll tell you what we know about, in this case, New Brunswick. You know, we'll show you some photos of the location. We'll tell you some facts. And then you can hop to different points of interest within a region, for example. And these are fun. This is mostly place names. You know, we give you good photos. I'd love to see some more scientific data in here. It'd be kind of interesting if you could click on you know, the gyre in the Pacific and learn about, you know, the problem with plastics, right? Things like that. So that might be some opportunities for those of you who are passionate in helping us bring more of a scientific perspective to some of the data that we surface via these knowledge cards in Google Earth. If you don't know where to go, because most people just go see their house or their neighbor's backyard because they like spying, we have this feature called I'm Feeling Lucky. You give it a click, and it will take you somewhere random in the world that you probably have never been. So has anyone ever been here? No, okay, so you two, okay, great. We'll try again. Has anyone been here? Oh, wow, okay, it's too big of a group. I just shot myself in the foot. Ooh, this is gorgeous. Nice. Let's check this out. I'm jealous. Who's been there? Man, when are you going next? Beautiful stuff. So I'm Feeling Lucky just helps you discover random places in the world, right? These are consumer features. These are fun. It's fun for exploration, you know, on a Saturday night if you have nothing better to do. But let's talk a little bit more about where I hope all of you will be using Google Earth moving forward. So we've talked about I'm Feeling Lucky. This feature is called Voyager. And this is where we are featuring stories from partners about the world. And so, you know, we've got, this is a feature about the Street View special collections that we did in the Galapagos. Futuristic architecture, you can learn about the Big Five in Africa. We'll do something lighthearted. How many people like the Beatles? All right, all right. Sorry for the rest of you. How many dislike the Beatles? Just kidding. So you can dive in, and this story takes you to famous places in the Beatles' history, right? You know, different places where they played concerts, different venues. We're going to dive in the Street View here and check it out. And there's a little bit of narrative flow. You can kind of step through the story piece by piece. And this is all using KML. We've added some extensions to KML that I'll talk about in a little bit that allows you to take people on a journey, right? Hopefully you see where I'm going with this. So Beatles are great. OK, fine. Let's check something else out.
John?
Yes?
Teamworks was pointed out that it's done in KML and you can do it too.
I will get there. I hope so. Depending if I run out of time or how over everyone lets me go. OK, so I want to check out another story that we have. There's lots of beautiful stuff here. This is called Ultra Distancia. This is by a artist named Federico Weiner. And what he does is he finds imagery around the world and takes our pixels and colorizes it and makes it into these beautiful artistic prints. So what we've done here, this is his original piece of artwork. And we've overlaid it on the globe. And so you can actually go and you can explore it. So let's go check out another one. How many people from the Czech Republic? No, I'm half Czech. Oh, wait, OK. Thal will give you half credit. So here we are visualizing this kind of geospatial art. I heard there's an art contest. I'm kind of curious to see what people come up with. Basically laid out on the ground. What if this is your data set? Right? And now you can start telling people about what they should be seeing in your data and explaining to them with photos, text, videos in these various pop-up balloons and taking them from place to place in Earth and helping them understand what it is that you work on, what it is that you want them to understand. So, excuse me. This Voyager feature, we started off with kind of two different types of content. One is called collections, so collections of interesting places, beautiful mountains, things like that. Stories, so maybe a little bit about the Beatles, or maybe the story of this particular artist. There's a third category of content that we haven't done a lot of that I'm really excited about. We're going to call it visualizations, and that's where we take interesting data sets, put them in front of users, and tell them about what they're seeing. And so this is an opportunity, I hope, to see some of your content that you guys create with Earth Engine presented in a way that's accessible to a really wide audience, or maybe not a wide audience, right? Maybe you just want to walk through your team, right, through something in your data set. You could do that with Google Earth. OK, so I'm going to dive into one more story and talk a little bit about some of the KML involved. So we introduced some new features to KML, one of which is full screen pop-up balloons. It used to be just a little annotation on the map. So this is a full screen spread. You could put, in this case, kind of a fancy video in the background. Serves as an introduction to what the people are about to learn about. We introduced panels. So these are persistent kind of interactive legends, if you will. Excuse me. Where in this case, we're using it as a table of contents. Sorry, I got a cold. It's the baby's fault. So I can click on one of these thumbnails and then dive into a different part of the story, present different content. So here we are. We're going to dive into, in this case, a street view panorama on the shores of Lake Titicaca to look into a traditional reed house. So with Google Earth, you can not only fly around the world. If you have panoramic data, if you want to show people on the ground the places that you work, you can do that. So here we are in someone's home. Extraordinarily colorful. They still have TV. Awesome. Or not. We added new features that allow you wow, to link together these different features. So this is just a place mark on the map. It sets the view into Street View. And then you can add previous next buttons that allow you to create this narrative flow and narrative structure through the story. OK, so I need to speed this up because I'm running out of time. I haven't gotten dirty looks yet, but I know they're coming. So I just wanted to load a couple data sets to take a look at. This is an older Earth Engine data set, if I can get over to Africa. This is forest loss in the DRC, an output that we did with Earth Engine some time back. I don't have the legend because I'm a bad person. But anyone on the Earth Engine team want to remind me what the different color coding is? I'm assuming purplish. I'm colorblind. I think that's purple. Is forest that was already lost by the year 2000. And then this is a data set from 2000 to 2010. I would assume the stuff on the fringes of the nice green areas are areas of recent deforestation during that particular time period. So here's a data set that was exported as image tiles from Earth Engine, visualized in Earth. And now imagine you're wrapping these new features around it, these panel balloons that allow you to take people from place to place, these next buttons that allow you to create that narrative structure. Another data set that sadly I did not have time to style before today, but I will show you the unstyled version, is something that Nick worked on. So this is another Earth Engine output. I didn't confirm with you the exact details of this data set, so I'm going to wing it, and then you can tell me where I went wrong. So there's a vector data set imported into Earth Engine eco-regions of the world. And then we did some analysis on it. And we looked at different indicators like population growth, human population growth per square kilometer over time, changes in the intensity of the NASA lights at night layer, basically another indicator or proxy for human development, changes in land surface temperature. And there's one more I'm forgetting offhand. EBI. Thank you. EVI, Enhanced Vegetation Index. And so basically what Nick did is he pulled in this, this vector data set, calculated these 4 different values, and then filtered down the data set to those regions that had changes in a direction that, let's say are deleterious to the environment, right? Increases in human population, et cetera. So you can go around the world. I didn't do a nice job styling these balloons. Here we have raw access to the tabular data, to the columns in that data set. Google Earth and Camel allows you to create a nice HTML balloon. You can plug in these values into a template and create something that's a bit more engaging if you want. So it's just another example of how you can use Earth Engine's vector and raster data sets, do your analysis, export it into whatever format you need, in this case KML, to visualize in Earth. I'm pretty much out of time, so I'm going to really quick switch to, are there any questions? Would anyone like to learn anything about new Google Earth? Do you have any questions about KML? Any features you would like to see in Earth? And we'll switch, someone will come and switch the laptop. So question over here. So you're asking about the Street View panoramas, and you're asking?
All the layout on the...
So the layout of on the right-hand side we had, so that's all, it's just a little web page. So that's HTML. One of the things that we're interested in offering users are templates that make it a lot easier for users to create a good-looking presentation like that. We're using templates extensively for the content in that Voyager feature. So we look forward to offering something like that to folks in the future so that you don't have to learn HTML to do it. But it's a combination of KML for the map features, which define the balloons and the polygons, things of that nature. So yeah, so it's a combination of HTML and Java. So we'll come here and then we'll go back over there.
I also work at monitoring seismicity in connection with the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. So we want to look at occurrences of seismic events all over. And I'm wondering what the best way to do that is.
Yeah, so it probably depends on how much data you have. If it's not a ton of data, KML offers a timestamp or timestamp feature, timestamp or timespan feature. So you can say, this feature on the map should only be visible during a certain time frame. And then you get a time slider in the old Google Earth, and you can animate that. We haven't added the time slider to the new version of Google Earth, but we're working on it. That's one way. There are other more exciting ways to do things like that I can't talk about because we're being recorded. I'd love to show you demos, but I can't. But we're really interested in time series data and how things like that might be visualized on the map. So stay tuned.
Probably a question that a lot of people have asked. Just curious when we'll be able to create KMLs in the new Google Earth and all those basic capabilities that we have on the desktop version.
Yep. Yeah, great question. So the part of that I can talk about, because we've talked a little bit about it publicly, is content creation is one of our biggest priorities. It's what the team is working on right now. We did not shut down the old version of Google Earth for this reason specifically, because there are a lot of workflows that we want to continue supporting for people. So working on it, again, if we weren't being recorded, maybe if you gave me a brownie, I might show you a demo. But yeah, we're actively working on things like drawing tools and ways of getting your data into Earth, into the new Earth. So yeah, admittedly, the first version, we wanted to get it out there quickly, and it's a little more focused on exploration and search, more consumer features, but we have this audience in mind, absolutely. So, okay.
I had a quick question. The KML that you were showing is also dynamic KML, which means it can be updated with real-time feed, right?
Yeah, good question.
So how exactly are these data sets that go into these feeds structured? Like, what's the way of structuring them? Is it a specific format that comes into, gets parsed and goes into a KML, or?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Maybe to answer in a nutshell, because it's a kind of a big topic. There's a feature in KML called Network Link, and it allows you to point at a server somewhere and say, give me KML. And you can add some features onto that to say, when the camera stops, send the bounding box to a server, get that data back. So you host your data in any way you want. Your server just needs to produce KML and then return it to that request. We're looking at other and better ways of getting, in particular, Earth Engine data into Earth. KML isn't great for certain types of data sets, especially really large vector data sets. We could do better with tiled data sets or tiled raster data sets. So we're looking at better ways of bringing that content from Earth Engine in. But yeah, if you had your own server, database, Python, PHP, pick your language, make a query to your database, pull some data out, respond to that bounding box query, for example. Yeah, and we can talk more about that later.
Probably related also to something what you can talk about.
Welcome to Google.
We work with Earth Engine. We have this playground where we can script anything and produce quite a lot of content, but then it visualized on a kind of almost static, old-fashioned map actually.
Sure.
Version. And with Google Earth, you see like web-based, WebGL, 3D animated time lapses. That's something what I think Earth Engine user wants to have. So did you think of, or you thought probably, but when approximately we can expect that we have these two playgrounds integrated, that in Google Earth you will be able to edit scripts and not only access API of Earth Engine, but also produce KML and also like animated time dependent. So that's more or less.
You're probably the only person in this room interested in that, so I no promises. Just kidding, just kidding. There are a few inputs, a few methods now you can use. Or the Earth Engine API has a KML export feature. So Nick, when he was preparing, I forgot to show his script, but there's a command to dump to Google Drive a KML output, right? You guys don't do yet styled KML output. I'll work with you on that because I heart KML. I think it's very interesting what you're asking for. I would love to see that too. I think there are a lot of interesting use cases for an Earth-like experience, not necessarily in the Earth app. Maybe you want to export and you want to view it in Earth, great. We used to have a Google Earth API based on the old thing. A lot of people are asking for, we love embed, we love API, these are top feature requests, right? So we're definitely keeping that in mind. So noted, no promises, that'd be awesome. Okay.
All right, please join me in thanking Sean once again.